Most people think branding is about how your business looks, your logo, your colors, your website, your social media. But the brands that we really remember aren't necessarily the ones with the best design. They're the ones that make us feel something. So, welcome back to the podcast Profits Unleashed podcast, where we explore how coaches, consultants, founders, experts can build authority, create meaningful connections, and grow businesses people genuinely trust. Now, I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today I'm joined by Christian Helms, founder and creative director of Helms Workshop, an award-winning branding agency that spent more than 15 years building brands that connect. He's led creative and brand strategy for companies ranging from Jack Daniels and Hershey to Austin Beer Works and Howler Brothers, helping businesses uncover their voice, shape their story, and create meaningful relationships with the people that they serve. But there's another side to Christian's story that I really want to explore today. After a long battle with an undiagnosed illness forced him to rebuild both his life and his business, Christian discovered that the principles he'd spent years using to build world-class brands, clarity, storytelling, authenticity, and purpose could also be used to rebuild a life. So this conversation is about much more than just logos and design. We're going to explore what makes a brand genuinely memorable, why authenticity matters more than ever, how your story shapes the way people perceive you, and what happens when the person behind the brand changes, because ultimately the strongest brands aren't manufactured, they're uncovered. So let's dive in. Welcome to the show. I don't know whether to call you T or Christian.
Christian is totally fine. And thanks for having me here. And this is going to be fun.
So look, you've spent more than 15 years helping companies discover what their brands really stand for. But then you went through this period where you essentially had to rediscover who you were. How did that experience change the way you think about branding?
It's a great question. The idea of personal branding, it always seemed icky to me. It seemed like influencers posing the things on Instagram and just a surface level, cheesy, inauthentic shouting into the void that you see out there. And what I realized after getting hit with Lyme disease and being knocked out of commission for a couple of years, as I started to recover, I had this new lease on life. The problem was I didn't have a life. Socially and professionally, I'd been practically non-existent for a number of years. So I had to kind of rebuild life. And in the end, it was honestly a blessing because I was able to use a lot of the tools we use to build brands to decide what's my purpose, what's my mission and vision, who is my audience, who do I want to surround myself with, who do I not want in my life, what's my message, what's my superpower, all these things that we figure out for brands. I was able to take a look at myself as kind of a blank slate and identify those things and start to build on them. And it really built a better business and a better life.
Ah, interesting, isn't it? And I think because a lot of people, when they start a business, they don't necessarily start from that place. So they're just trying to keep things going, and then they think about their branding. But I suppose for you, what it sounds like is you had that opportunity to start with a blank canvas in a way, right?
Or at least after a pause, right? After a pause, reflection. Yeah, absolutely. And it's very similar to what we do with brands. We work with a lot of brands, a lot of founders who, like you said, don't invest in brand in the beginning because they're trying to get this business up and running. And it ends up on the back burner. Operations, payroll, supply chain, all these other things kind of eclipse brand. And then once they get their feet under them and they're generating some revenue, like clockwork, after a number of years, they'll look back and go, gosh, we're not really representing ourselves in a way that communicates what makes us unique and special and valuable. So we love getting a hold of those brands and helping to optimize them and send them back out in the world as their best selves.
Brilliant. And so when a founder does come to you saying, I need a new brand, how do you get beneath the logo, colors, and design to discover what the brand actually is?
Yeah, and I love that you said that in the intro because it's absolutely right. The logo, the color palette, all those things are important. That's your brand identity. It's not your brand. Your brand is a summation of all the thoughts, feelings, emotions, and experiences people have with your company or product. It's much bigger than just a logo. Logo is a symbol for that, but it's not everything. So,
Mm.
what we do first, and this is the most important part of the process, is we dig deep, learn everything we can about this company, its history, what they're passionate about, the competition, every little gem that we can mine about the company so we can start to get a holistic picture of what makes it tick, what is valuable to people, and most importantly, what makes it unique and different. That's what we want to leverage into brand. How can we connect with people in a meaningful way that's authentic and true and human? And that's what we build.
Love that. And you've worked with brands ranging from Jack Daniels and Hershey to smaller founder-led companies. What do the brands that create genuine emotional connection consistently get right?
They speak to people in a human way.
Ah,
They get to a point where they transcend the functional benefits of their product and they get into the emotional and social benefits, right? How being part of this brand makes you feel about yourself and then what it says about you to other people. That is some potent stuff. If you get that right, it's lightning in a bottle.
because do you find that a lot of okay, so I deal with a lot of coaches and consultants, and I get this because I know I've done this in the past, where we can be so hooked up in our own industry or niche that we can tend to use maybe verbiage that isn't going to resonate with the public because we know our stuff and we forget sometimes that they might not understand that, right? You need to articulate it, and I love the way that you described it. It's just be human. But
Yeah.
do you feel that a lot of founders, business owners, whatever, do get a little bit caught up in the messaging, and that is the issue, that it's not resonating with the people?
Yeah, it's honestly similar to my arc as a creative, where in the beginning of starting this agency, I used a lot of brand speak, a lot of fancy vernacular to try to legitimize the fact that, hey, we know what we're doing. We're a branding agency. At this point, 16 years in, it's the exact opposite. I try to speak as simply and humanly as possible. I try to explain everything like I'm explaining it to my grandmother, right? Get
Mhm.
rid of the jargon, get rid of the stuff. We know we're good. We've got the track record so we can start to be more direct, honest, and human in the way that we communicate. And it's the same for brands. In the beginning, you just want people to believe that you're doing this thing and that this thing is real with your company. And it can obscure real, honest communication and a chance to really connect with people.
Yeah, I can see that totally. And it's not, people don't obviously do this deliberately. It's all probably actually unconscious and it's just what they know. But it does seem to be the biggest issue is that people can't clearly articulate what it is they do or who they help or the big promise. What's the end game? Nobody, again, you're dealing with all sorts of companies. I tend to
Mhm.
deal with coaches and consultants, which might be slightly different, where how you can share with that person what is it, what would they get out of, what would be the end result if they work with you. And I think they can get very confused about that because they want to again blurt out all that normal verbiage and yeah, trying to appear I don't know, not important, but yeah,
Yeah.
knowledgeable. And it's a very difficult thing, I think, for a lot of people to be able to do that clearly.
Yeah. It's a huge detriment for a brand to be in that place because you're trying to essentially prove to people that you're just like the others, right? You are part of this category. You are legitimate within whatever your category is. We'll say cereal, right?
Mm.
Your goal, your brand's already in trouble because you're
Mm.
going to look like the other cereal. You're going to talk like the other cereal. You're going to do all the things that they're doing. And at that point, you're competing on price alone because you're
Mm.
saying I'm one of many versus I'm special. The best brands realize that people can copy your recipe, they can copy your marketing plan, they can copy your packaging format that can copy just about everything about your product. But if you build a resonant brand, that can't be copied. That connection, that relationship with people, folks will spend more money for that, and they'll be loyal to that brand, and they'll recommend it to friends and defend it at dinner parties. It's a really powerful thing done the right way, and it can transcend price competition.
And I suppose nobody else is going to have the same story.
Right.
How do you turn a founder's story and their values into something that customers can actually, number one, recognize, but also actually connect with?
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of the time, especially with smaller founder led companies, they can't see the forest for the trees and they don't know what makes them unique. We worked with a brewery in Minneapolis many years ago, and it was essentially a family, a gentleman and his father-in-law, his wife, and his immediate family that were starting this brewery. And they were very self-conscious about the fact that they didn't have this amazing lineage of brewing history, that they were a family instead of a company. And we had to coach them up on the fact that that's fantastic. People can understand that and connect with that and the dynamics of that. The fact that you guys are all teaming up around this shared passion, that's what makes you guys special. Anybody can brew beer, right? But nobody else is going to have that story.
Yeah, that is the story.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
but they
Yeah.
couldn't see it. They thought it was, they were embarrassed by it. They thought it was a detriment. I'm like, nobody, it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, it's funny. I think people are trying to, I don't know, act like the big brands when they're not. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? But that's the whole point, is that they all have a unique story. I always say everyone's got a story, every story is valid. And there's someone out there that needs to hear that story, because what that will do for them to inspire them, or, yeah, there you go, you gained another customer. So
Yeah.
that do you think one of the reasons founders struggle with branding is that they are trying to create an image of who they think they should be, rather than having the confidence to show people who they actually are?
Yeah, 100%. And don't get me wrong, there is an aspirational aspect of branding where you do want to get to another level with your business or your product or whatever. But if you aren't honest with yourself about who you are, what you do, why it matters to people, you're going to be shooting in the wrong direction, right? You're not going to be hitting the mark in terms of really nailing what makes you special. And it's always the most frustrating when you see a client not be honest about what they do, what they offer, and essentially shoot themselves in the foot, where there's a disconnect there between what they are and what they're telling people. And folks pick up on that immediately. We can spot fakery miles ahead. And they're not intending to fake people out. They're just trying to prove something that ultimately
Mm.
they're not. They need to embrace what makes them unique and special and stop trying to posture and position.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that is a biggie. There's two ways. There seems to be, at the moment, I think, a little bit of a wave of where people have been told, be authentic, be vulnerable. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's taken a little bit too far.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look on social media and I think, maybe a little bit unnecessary. There's a fine line here. You're not going for the sympathy vote here. But yes, your story, people want, I suppose, as human beings, we want the underdog to win. We want to boost these things. So sharing the story, the origin story, and being honest about maybe the struggles that they've had, I think is really important for people
Mhm.
to understand, because they will be a little bit more rooting for you than somebody who's just started a business with a load of funding, and
Yeah.
and then they've got there. Far more interesting to hear the struggles of somebody that's gone through, like maybe the family with the brewery, of what they went through in the beginning to get them to where they are today. I think as humans we connect with that more. Do you not think?
I agree 100%. It's a valuable thing done the right way, right? Not
Yes.
overindulged.
Yes.
And it can really create opportunity. I think the flip side of that coin is they will root for the underdog until you get to a certain level. Once you
True.
get there, you need to start really making sure it's less about me and it's more about them, right? What joy and value can you bring to their lives? Because once somebody gets to the top, It is
Yeah.
a sad part of human nature that everybody wants to knock it down, right?
Oh,
The
it's
same
so
brand you were
true.
rooting for is a scrappy little brand now you're sick of because it's everywhere. So
Yeah.
you've got to really put the pedal to the metal in terms of bringing joy and value to people's lives and
Yeah.
giving them something versus just taking.
There you go. Yes, there's definitely a fine. It's all about balance. So, someone listening might be thinking to themselves, that's easy for an established brand with a huge budget. But I'm, in my case, with my audience, a lot of coaches or consultants, and
Sure.
essentially, I am the brand. So, what actually matters when you're building a brand around one person?
Yeah. It is a blessing and a curse in some ways. Years ago, I got to spend some time with Gail Towery, who is Martha Stewart's head of brand. And we asked the question as students, this is how long ago this was, as students, what happens to the brand if Martha goes away? If something happens, if she gets hit by a truck, if she gets swept up by a tornado, if she strangles somebody and whatever. And sure enough, years later, she got nailed for tax evasion and all that stuff, or insider trading, or whatever it was. And it came to be. And what Gail said was, we are building a brand that transcends her as a person. She is part of the brand, she's a figurehead, but we're able to build a rich enough world around this thing that it becomes less about one person and more about a mindset and an attention to detail, all of these different things. And sure enough, it proved to be true.
And I suppose the thing is that anybody, even if it is just them in the beginning, as they scale, that's the end goal, isn't it? For everybody to maybe eventually have an exit strategy. So it is going to scale. So even if it just starts off with you, yes, you've got to build it around the
Yeah.
thing that's more.
Yeah, exactly. And I wish in the beginning I had not named our agency Helms Workshop with my name in it. At that time, it was just me starting out. So my reputation and credibility is all I had to trade on. Now we are a team of 16 years in. We're a well oiled machine. And I really wish my name wasn't on the building because it's not all about me at this point. It is a team. We're not a family. We are a team of elite athletes in what we do. And it's not
Love
about
that.
me in one part of this thing. Everybody is carrying a lot of weight. Something to
Yeah,
think.
I can relate to that. When I started out, I
Oh,
still do have the website. I had Karen Roberts coaching because again, it's the things that we learn. We're told this stuff. Yes, make it around you. And a few years ago now, I changed it all, and it's Podcast Profits Unleashed. Because eventually, yes, maybe in 5 years, maybe I can hand it off. It's not around just me, but yeah, we learn as we go, right? We know what we've been taught, and that's it until we find a new way. So,
exactly.
in a world where AI can create
Yeah.
polished content, it can create logos, websites, marketing almost instantly. Do you think being unmistakably human is actually becoming a competitive advantage?
1,000%. Brand is your
Mm,
unfair advantage out in the world. And if you can do it in a way that really connects with people on a human level, you're already beyond AI. The other thing with AI, the LLMs as they stand now at least, is what you get out of AI in terms of brand, whether it's visuals or language, is essentially a summary of all the things that are already out in the world. So if your goal is to stand out, be different, be yourself, be special, if your brand is just a summation of all the other things like it that are already out there, again, you're going to fade into the crowd. It's not going to
mm,
connect with people in that way. And who
yes.
knows where AI is going? This could be a completely different conversation in 5 years. But as it stands now, it's slick and it's pretty, but it doesn't have the depth that we want to build
Oh,
with brands.
yeah, I agree. I think so many people are so afraid. Some are afraid of it, but which is why I promote podcasting as well, is because this isn't AI. You can't generate.
Yeah. Real
It's a
people talking to each other.
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know what I'm going to ask you. We can have some kind of framework, but it's not. I just think that people will crave more that human, raw, authentic connection moving forward. So I think the businesses that are really going to thrive are the ones where you want to deal with a human,
Yeah.
not just
And those
AI.
experiences become so much more special when there's so much just chatter out in the world that's digital and AI and all those things.
Yeah,
Becomes extremely important and extremely valuable to people.
yeah.
Human
So don't
connection
be
is,
afraid of it. Don't be afraid
yeah,
of it. It has its uses. I'm not saying I don't. I'm not
absolutely.
anti AI. I do find it useful for a lot of things, but I think the most important part of the business, then yeah, no, that it is all about the authentic conversations. And I do want to pause on that because I do think this is where branding and authority really come together. We talk so much about being visible, right? Online, more content, more followers, more reach, but being recognized isn't the same thing as being remembered. And being remembered isn't necessarily the same as being trusted. And so, what I'm hearing from you is that a strong brand will create consistency between who you are, what you actually stand for, the story you tell, and the experience that people have when they encounter you. And that's why I think, again, going back to these long form conversations are so powerful. You can manufacture a polished post for face.
Mhm.
It's a lot harder to manufacture who you are across a 40-minute conversation, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I love your recognized, remembered, trusted analogy there. And it's totally true. Some people stop at recognition, right? They just want to be famous for
Ah,
often nothing, right?
yep.
But to be remembered, you have to bring value to people. You have to give them something that means something to them, right? And then to
Hmm.
be trusted, you've got to go even deeper and be consistent in that. And you also have to be realistic that you're not for everybody. Like
Yeah.
you have your tribe out there. And if you're trying to be everything to everyone, no one's going to care.
Oh,
An example I use a lot is Anthony Bourdain. He was 1000% him,
mm.
warts and all, and people loved him for it. And some people didn't, and that's fine because they're not his crowd. But he was able to stand for something and be unique and special and absolutely brought so much value to people's lives.
That's the biggest thing. Cool. If I could get my daughters to understand that one thing, I think that is massive. The moment you let go of worrying what other people even think of you, and quite often they're not. Yeah, they're not.
Exactly.
and
You're
it
creating
is
that.
okay. It is okay. I use because of my sort of background. I didn't come from a corporate background. I came from the fitness industry, a completely different world. There
Hmm,
was a little bit of sort of imposter syndrome. Oh, I feel like
totally.
I've got to act a certain way. Absolute rubbish. No, be you. Yeah, the way I see it, especially with podcasting, is the beauty of this. I feel this is just a personal point, is that I get to show up for people who do like me because the people who I'm not resonating with, guess what? They're not listening. So I
Right.
only get
It's a
to
non
serve.
factor.
Yeah. And I don't have to face the rejection either. It's like they are here. I'm just serving, I show up and serve the ones that are here. So if someone uses, I presume you both, someone's using podcast guesting to build their personal brand, what should they be communicating consistently so that after hearing them, say for 30, 40 minutes, the listener has a very clear sense of who they are and what they stand for?
Yeah. I think, yeah, I feel like a broken record at this point, but a big part of it is communicating something of value to people versus look at me, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, will you repeat the question? I totally went off on a tangent there and lost the question.
So if people are guesting and they want to
Oh,
use that to build their personal brand, what are the key things that they need to get the listener to understand or have a real clear sense of who they are and what they stand for?
yeah, I think it points back to brand, right? It's like throughout that conversation, you should exhibit what your purpose is, right? My purpose is to build things, create things that bring joy and value to people's lives and drive results for our partners, right? That's my thing. And that goes for my family as well, to create these moments of joy and value. And to create wealth for my family. And wealth doesn't just mean money, it means health, it means good human connections, it means fitness, it means all these things. From there, what's your mission? Like, where are you going? And how can you help other people get there? Right? Again, who's your audience? Who do you want to be surrounded by? Who's your tribe and who's not? You should get a sense that all of those things through this conversation. And it shouldn't be ticked off as a list and it shouldn't feel robotic and practiced. And I'm sure you have some guests who come on and clearly have an agenda and they just plow right through whatever they want to say. But you got to give people a sense of who you are in a way that they can decide if it's for them or not. That's completely okay. But if you're not being the goal of life, one of the goals in life is to get to a point where you are 100% completely yourself. No positioning, no faking it, no anything. It's just you are who you are. Those are the people we love the most. And like you
Mm.
said, there's some folks who won't really be attracted to that, and that's fine.
Mm.
They're not your people. It's actually valuable to go ahead and put those people off to the side so you can connect to the folks that matter.
Oh, totally. And actually, you said that quite early on. I was going to, thanks. Actually, that's reminded me
Nice.
because you did mention about it. I can't think of the words you used, but of essence, you've got to almost push the people that you don't be afraid to push the people that you don't want to work with away. I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
remember what you mentioned, but you did insinuate that kind of thing.
Absolutely. If
Mm.
you are able, I'm so fortunate that I'm in a place in life where I can choose who I surround myself with. And it goes for your personal life, but it goes for the agency too. We have a team of 16 fantastic human beings, absolutely exceptional people. And often, if we're hiring a designer, I might hire the third best portfolio in terms of the work that they've done to date, but I'll hire the best person because I can teach you to be
Ah.
a great brand designer, but I can't teach you to be a good person. That you're fully formed, that ship has sailed, we're done.
Yeah.
And we really protect that as an agency. When we are hiring a new teammate, I'm the last person to talk to them. Our team all talks to them and interviews them. And they will say, nope, this one's not it. This one feels like a fit for us. They fiercely protect our culture as an agency. It's a group of really skilled, but very low ego, high collaborative, high supportive team atmosphere folks. And it's
Brilliant.
fantastic. We
Brilliant.
literally say on our website, we don't work with assholes. And that includes us, none on our team and none on your team. That's the deal. And if people
Brilliant.
laugh in a new
Yeah,
business
that's
and maybe
great.
make a joke like, "Oh, I don't know if we're the right fit," then they
Yeah.
are people. You can tell. The folks who just kinda stare blankly, you're like, "Maybe not our folks."
Oh, I think that is massive. Look, when I started out, and I have a very small podcast, in fact, it's a very small podcast network now, but I know what I was doing wrong. I was attracting the wrong people to launch
Mhm.
a podcast. They weren't ready. And then, sort of, guess what happens? They give up way too
Yeah.
soon because they weren't ready. I should never have taken them on in the first place. It's interesting. When you're starting out, you'll accept anybody. And then you realize that actually you're doing double the work and double the time
Yeah.
for these peoples when you actually get a little bit more protective of your inner, things start actually moving a lot better. But again, it's all sort of lessons learned as you
Oh,
grow
yeah.
as a business. Still learning. I'm still learning.
Absolutely. Same. That is a little bit smaller than we could be so that we can be picky and choosy about the people we work with,
Great.
and
Well,
it's
because you're at
fantastic.
work. You're at work for a lot of your time. You've got to enjoy
Oh,
it. And
yeah.
so, do you want to work with people who are going to be real hard work and not very grateful and just not doing the work? Or do you want to work with action takers? People are actually going to implement what you're getting them to do.
Yeah.
The other thing I just wanted to pick up on was about authenticity. Can you manufacture authenticity, or can a great brand only reveal what's already there?
You can absolutely try to manufacture authenticity, and
You'll
plenty of folks do.
fail.
But yeah, people pick up on that. No, what you can do is amplify authenticity. So you can recognize it, understand it, and then put it out in the world in a way that is resonant. That can be being humorous, it can be being witty, it can be being direct, it can be all these different things, but you can take that kernel of authenticity and find really unique, creative, resonant ways to communicate it to people. So that's certainly augmenting and amplifying, but you can't really manufacture it.
Absolutely. You'll just get caught out.
Yeah, people pick up on that immediately.
Totally. Oh, it's less stressful if you just accept
Ooh,
it.
yeah,
Just be you and accept that. Going back to what you said earlier about some people will like you, some people won't, and it's all good. It's all
yeah.
good. You will attract your tribe. So if there's founders out there, experts out there, coaches out there that are thinking like, maybe it is time for things aren't really congruent, what should the listeners do next?
Honestly, if you are willing to take an honest look at your brand and know in your gut that it's not quite right, that it's not quite hitting the way it should, give us a call. We do 1 hour brand consultations for free once a week just to talk to founders and folks to help kind of get their feet under them. Not in an effort to generate new clients necessarily, but in a way to just help people understand. So much of what I do in my job is coaching clients to understand how brand works, what it is, what it can do for them. And I'm happy to do that every so often for free, just to kind of help out founders who are out there building something.
Oh, amazing. And so where would they go to do that?
HelmsWorkshop.com. Hit us on the contact form. Feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn as well. But HelmsWorkshop.com is a great place to read a lot more about the things we've been talking about. And if relevant, reach out for a conversation.
Fantastic. And if you're driving, as always, or walking the dog, wherever you are listening to this podcast, don't worry, Christian's details, links will all be in the show notes. So resort back to those. Now, look, Christian has talked today about uncovering the story, the purpose, the values behind a brand rather than simply creating an image for the outside world. And I think the same thing applies when you're building your personal authority. You don't need to invent a more impressive version of yourself. You need to get better at communicating the experiences, ideas, and stories that made you the expert that you are today. And that's exactly why I've created a very simple tool. I call it my Story Bank GPT. So this is where AI has helped me. I am not a natural storyteller. So when I go and guest on podcasts and they ask something about my backstory, this has just helped me deliver it. It's still my story. I don't need to read it. It's my story, but it helps me deliver it in a better way. It'll help you uncover and organize those stories that you can use intentionally on podcasts or maybe in your content or even on stages or in conversations with your potential clients. You can access it free, podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free. And if you're ready to take those stories and actually use podcast guesting strategically to build your authority and create real business opportunities, my 4-part mini course, The Podcast Profits Funnel. It's just $5 because your brand isn't what you tell people you are. It's what they remember, feel, and believe about you after you've left the room. Check out the Story Bank GPT, podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free. Thank you, Christian. It's been great conversation here today. Branding. I'm actually in the middle of a rebrand myself. And so thank you for that. And to the listeners, I will be back next week. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. If you're